It was a pretty good night last night for the Diamondbacks, defeating the Rays 5-1. But there was one notable thing that occurred during this game. There was a notable thing that occurred before the game that ties into the conversation that we're having. We learned that A.J. Puck is going for a second and third opinion, and one of the places he is going for that opinion is Dr. Neil Elatrache, who is one of the highly regarded Tommy John surgeons in the world. And anytime your favorite baseball team and a baseball player on your favorite baseball team meets with Dr. Neil Elatrache, it was like back in the day going to see Dr. James Andrews. The bad news when you're getting a second and third opinion and you're going to the guy who specializes in Tommy John surgery.
Pretty much means writing's on the wall.
It's not a great sign. I don't think that we're going to come out of this with A.J. Puck being like, oh, you know what? We went to Dr. Neil Elatrache and he said everything's fine. We don't need to go down the path of Tommy John surgery or whatever other surgery they could find when looking at this MRI. So that was the bad news we got before the game, that it does not look, at least, listen, we can let the process play out. We can see what the second and third opinion tell us. I'm just telling you, I don't have a good feeling about this. I didn't get the warm and fuzzies when I heard second and third opinion. And going to Dr. Neil Elatrache, who is a world-famous surgeon who specializes in Tommy John surgery, it didn't make me extra confident that A.J. Puck was going to come off the injured list when the 15 days are up. I didn't feel great about that when we heard that news yesterday. And then during the game, something happened, and Torey was asked about it after the game. But we were all paying very close attention to if Justin Martinez was going to be available last night. Was not available in Sunday's game. The word that was thrown around was fatigue, but Torey said day off on Monday. Expect Justin Martinez, J Mart, to be 100% when we get to Tuesday. Eighth inning rolls around, bottom of the eighth. Diamondbacks are holding on to a 3-1 lead. Save situation, so you would go to your closer. Justin Martinez with no A.J. Puck, that's got to be the guy, J Mart. 100-plus mile-an-hour sinker, 100-plus mile-an-hour fastball. That's my guy that I want in that spot, throwing gas, throwing heat to get those final three outs. So I've got to get my closer up. I know I'm threatening to score some runs, but I have to have my closer up. If I miss here and I don't get that insurance run and I don't make it a 4-run lead so it's not a save situation, I'm going to my closer. I just had a day off yesterday. Everybody's supposed to be available to me. I'm going to go to my closer. Shelby Miller was the guy warming up in the bottom of the eighth inning last night, not Justin Martinez. So if it was a save situation, the Diamondbacks ended up scoring 2 runs, so they didn't have a save situation. They had a 4-run lead. If the lead was 3-1, if the lead was 4-1, the guy that was going to be asked to get the final 3 outs and to get the save was not Justin Martinez last night. It was going to be Shelby Miller. So the moment that happens, I know somebody's going to ask about a postgame. Somebody's going to ask, was Justin Martinez not available? And we got a very similar answer of, yeah, just not feeling 100%. But Torey said, like I said to you guys the other day, I expect him to be 100% tomorrow. And didn't say that they were sending him for imaging like they did with A.J. Puck. Didn't make it sound like it was something that was serious. But Justin Martinez hasn't pitched since last Thursday. They are citing fatigue. Last night, Torey, I don't know if he meant to do this. He kind of gave away a little bit of information by saying it was kind of right shoulder fatigue. I don't know. Maybe you're dealing with a case of dead arm. Perhaps. Perhaps you're dealing with a case of a guy that really, truly is just fatigued, and it's the early season, and the workload is increasing from the spring, and so he's just kind of fighting through it right now. There's a plateau that he's hitting, and he just has to break through that plateau. That's perhaps the case. But when a guy hasn't pitched in nearly a week, if he doesn't pitch tonight, it will be a week since the last time we saw Justin Martinez. And on top of that, almost had a save situation last night. He wasn't up ready to go. You're being you're not giving us a whole lot. You're just saying that it's fatigue that J Mart is dealing with. And you already have a situation with A.J. Puck that is getting a second and third opinion. So maybe you're trying to play it safe, but it paints a very, very murky picture right now for the Diamondbacks in their bullpen. Because as we sit here today, they're down both closer options. Until I see Justin Martinez back out there on the mound, I am not going to anticipate him being available for tonight's game. I just am not. He hasn't pitched in nearly a week. something is wrong. Something is amiss. Something feels off here with this taking this long. If you wanted to shut him down and give him some time, if he doesn't pitch tonight, it'll be 7 days. You could have put him on the 15-day IL retroactive to his last appearance, and we would be halfway through at this point. He hasn't pitched in nearly a week. And so you're down your closer. You're down your top setup man. You sent down a bunch of guys. The Diamondbacks bullpen right now is a mess.
It's a complete mess. And the weird thing about yesterday was that Torrey said he was available in his pregame. He talked about him being available. And then he doesn't go to him in the ninth. And it's not one of those things where, oh, it's not a safe situation. Of course, you didn't see Justin Martinez. One, Shelby Miller got up when it was a safe situation.
Yep.
And two, like you said, it's almost been a week. I've watched a lot of baseball in my life. Isn't this an area where, hey, even if it's not a safe situation, he hasn't pitched in a week, we're going to try and get our closer some work here.
Right. If let's just take the fatigue thing off the table, right? If I had a closer who, because of the results of the game, we're getting blown out or we're blowing out the other team, it's not truly a safe situation. At some point, you just try to get your closer work to keep them on some type of schedule. Now, you add in that he's fatigued. Okay, you want to give him a blow. We're not going to use him in a game where we're losing 6-2 right on Saturday. He was never available for Friday's game, fatigue or no fatigue. He had worked the previous 2 days. You're not going to, in the middle of April, have a guy go 3 days in a row. It's just not going to happen. So Friday was off the table. So he last pitched on Thursday. Friday, he was not available. Saturday, you would probably think was the first time that they could have used him again after him appearing in back-to-back games. They didn't because it wasn't a safe situation. Okay, no problem. Sunday, it's a close game. They don't use him. That raises the eyebrow a little bit, but you hear afterwards he's dealing with some fatigue. He's expected to be ready for Tuesday. All right, you're willing to give the benefit of the doubt. Gave him an extra day, off day on Monday. Tuesday, we should be ready to roll. Last night rolls around. And now Shelby Miller is the guy up in the bottom of the eighth. I'm sorry. I will give you the benefit of the doubt. I explained why Friday was not going to make sense for Justin Martinez. I'm fine with saying that he has some fatigue and you want to give him Saturday and Sunday. But at some point, it's more than just fatigue if he's not available. There's something else going wrong here. And perhaps the AJ Puck thing is making them err on just the extreme side of caution. Maybe that's what's going on here. But it's now Wednesday, and he hasn't pitched since last Thursday. And so I'm at the point right now that I'd have to look at the schedule to see if there's any off days coming up that would allow this to be the case. But you'd have to think that if he's 100%, you try to get him into the game regardless tonight. That you try to get him action regardless because he hasn't pitched in nearly a week.
I just can't believe a situation where there's not something more serious where you wouldn't have your closer pitch in over a week. It just, even if you're up 10-1 tonight, I would like to see him come out.
If he's 100%, I think I want to see him tonight. I do. And I'd have to look at the schedule to see if they have any other off days here coming up that would allow them to do this. Because you also want to save him for a potential save scenario down the road, because if he is fatigued, you don't want to use him tonight in a game that's 10-1 and then tomorrow not be able to use him in a close game because you really are trying to keep tabs on his fatigue. So you've got to be very careful here. But man, at some point this week, I got to see him pitch. Like I've got to see him sometime in this Tampa series. If you want me to take off the table that there's a serious injury and that we should be more concerned than we are, I've got to see him at some point. I've got to know that everything's okay, because right now we were going to do this. I had this written up before the game yesterday. Before the game, and you can attest to this, producer Evan, you were in the show prep. I had a segment ready to go because the Puck news broke before the game that he was getting a second and third opinion. And I was going to rework the bullpen. Justin Martinez was going to be the closer. As long as the fatigue issues were in the past, I had that written down here. And then we were going to discuss who should be the setup guys. And I said Jalen Beek should be setup option number 2. You should keep him in the role that you have him in right now as your lefty guy, your 6th or 7th inning guy. And I think Shelby Miller should be a very strong candidate to be your 8th inning guy. And I know they may want to use him for multiple innings, but right now I have to get to a point where Kevin Ginkel is back. I have to get to that point and not throw away my season because I give away games because my bullpen is shaky. And so Shelby Miller is best suited right now getting me 3 outs instead of every other day getting me 6, 7, 8 outs maybe. That's where Shelby Miller is better utilized right now as my setup option number one. Now, the moment Kevin Ginkel is ready to go, you move it around. Shelby Miller goes back to being my multi-inning guy. Kevin Ginkel's my top setup option. Jalen Beeks is option number two. I'll say this. That kid, Murillo, who was pitching last night, he threw some heat, 99, 100.
Good stuff.
I don't know if you can do this with a kid that you just called up, thrust him right into some high leverage situations. But if he continues to show that type of stuff in the environments that they give him, lower leverage stuff, you may want to add some high leverage opportunities to that kid's plate. Stuff is what matters at the big league level. You throw 99, 100, 101, man, that's unhittable. So somebody to keep an eye on. I don't have him in there right now, but somebody to keep an eye on if they are looking for candidates, especially if Justin Martinez has to take a stint on the injured list.